Okay, so we had the Mishnah said you can't sell bears and lions to the idol worshippers because it causes damage. So now we're on the bottom of 16a, the 5 lines from the bottom. Omer of Chanan bar Rav Chisda, Omer la Omer of Chanan bar Rava. So either it was Rav Chanan bar Rav Chisda, some say it was Rav Chanan bar Rava. He said in the name of Rav, Omer Rav, Chaya Gasa. So there's two kinds of animals, a Chaya and a Behema. One is domesticated, one is wild. A Behema is domesticated, a Chaya is wild. So a Chaya Gasa, a large wild animal. Harehi ki Behema daka lepirchus. It's like a small domesticated animal when it comes to the halachas of pirchus. Pirchus is something, when the animal shechted, it has that like mini seizure. What's it called? It has a spasm. So now, when you had a sick animal, they were worried that it died before you shechted it. So there are different signs of its spasms to know if it's a kosher animal or if it's not a kosher animal. So a larger wild animal has the same status as a smaller domestic animal in terms of hilchas kashrus, in terms of halachas of kosher, for its spasm. So Rashi fills us in a little bit that a small animal that just puts out its leg after it gets shechted and doesn't bring it back is prohibited, because we assume that this sick animal died before shechita. But by a larger animal, whether it puts out his hand and doesn't put it back or not, it's still considered kosher. That putting out its legs is considered enough of a spasm to be considered kosher. And therefore, a large animal, we're saying a large wild animal, it's also used to put out its arm when it dies. So therefore, if you were to shecht a sick, a larger wild animal, and it doesn't do its spasm, it just puts out its leg. So then that's not going and doesn't bring it back. That's not going to be considered enough to be considered kosher. We're going to assume it died beforehand. Okay. Now, what we need is the next line. Makom shenagu limkor mochrim. Now, a chaya gasa, a large wild animal, can you sell it to idol worshippers or not? Says the Gemara, it depends. If the custom is to sell, you could sell. Makom shel limkor and mochrim. If the custom is not to sell, then you don't sell. So now, that is a statement of Rav Chanan bar Rava, that a large wild animal depends on the custom of the place that you're in. Can you or can you not sell? Even though our Mishnah said, across the board, lions and bears you cannot sell. But yet other large wild animals depend on the locale that you're in. So, Tanan, says our Mishnah, Ein mocher lan dubin v'arayis. Our Mishnah said you can't sell bears and you can't sell lions. The low kol davar sheish bo nesek l'rabim, and any other animal which might cause damage to the public, you are not allowed to sell to the idol worshiper. So now, the Mishnah explained itself. It said any which does damage to the public, such as a bear or a lion. Taima de isbei nesek l'rabim. The reason why you cannot sell these things is, as the Mishnah itself explained, because it does damage to the public. But hales bei nezek l'rabim shari. But if it doesn't do damage to the public, so then it's going to be permitted. So why should a wild animal depend on the locale? It should depend on one thing. Does it do damage to the public or not damage to the public? As long as it doesn't damage the public, you're good to go. If it always damages the public, then it should be prohibited. Why does it depend on the locale? So that seems to be a contradiction to the statement of Rav Chanan bar Rava. Yeah. So Amar Rabba bar Ula ba'ari shavor. So sorry, just I just skipped over those words. The second line of the Gemara said that Rav Chanan said in the name of Rav that a wild animal has the same status as a domesticated animal for the spasms. Aval lo l'mechira. Sorry, I think I skipped the line. It says aval lo l'mechira, but not for sale. For sale, it has a different status. For sale, it all depends on the. For sale, a large animal can never be sold. That was the first opinion. The ani omer af l'mechira, and I say Rav Chanan himself says that you could sell it. So that was important background. Two opinions: can you sell a chaya gasa, a larger wild animal? So one opinion says you cannot sell it, and one opinion says you could sell it, and it depends on the locale. To that, we brought a Mishnah that says it sounds like as long as it doesn't do damage to the public, then you are able to sell it. Yeah. So if that's true, so let's say you have a lion that doesn't cause, I don't know, a small lion or something that doesn't cause damage. Yeah, let's say you have a lion that doesn't do damage or something, so then it'll be permitted, right? A large lion that doesn't do damage. It's I don't know, whatever the case of a lion that wouldn't do damages, but it's only because a lion does damage. But if it's not something which does damage, sort of a house lion, I don't know. So then, right? So that would be permitted. Now, if that would be permitted, so that's a difficulty to Rav, because we said in the name of Rav, every large wild animal you cannot sell. And our Mishnah said, well, it depends, only if it does damage to the public. If it doesn't do damage to the public, then there's no problem. So that's a difficulty to Rav and a support for Rav Chanan. So how are we going to defend Rav? So two opinions. Amar Rav Bar Ula ba'ari shavor. Really, we're talking about a lion that's injured. The Mishnah, which allowed you to sell the lion, as long as that doesn't cause damage, is really a lion that's injured. Now, a lion that's injured, turn the page, is only aliba de Rabbi Yehuda, because aliba Rabbi Yehuda in the previous Mishnah allowed a animal which is injured to be sold. So our Mishnah is going with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda that while you have a injured animal, then you'll be permitted to sell that. So the Mishnah would be talking about a broken animal, and Rav will be talking about a healthy, large, wild animal. Rav Ashi Amar, our Mishnah can even be referring to a lion which is not injured, a regular lion, and yet it's going to be permitted if it doesn't do damage. However, it still won't be a difficulty. Why? Because shavarhu eitzel malach. In terms of the work that the lion's going to do, we're worried it's going to do work for you on Shabbos if it doesn't cause damage. So it's considered like it's mutilated in terms of the work that it does, because lions don't really do work for you, not really carrying your stuff for you and things like that. So in terms of that, it's considered broken, considered injured in terms of the work it's going to do for you, and therefore, also like Rabbi Yehuda, who allows the broken animals, that would also be the opinion of our Mishnah, and therefore, as long as a large, wild animal does not cause damage, you'd be allowed to sell it like a lion, because it's considered broken in terms of its ability to do work for you. And when Rav says you cannot sell, when Rav said across the board you cannot sell a wild animal that's larger, he was talking about animals that weren't broken, so to speak, ones that are going to do work for you, and therefore we're worried that you might lend it or rent it out, and it might do work for you on Shabbos. Now, Meisve, Kishem she'ein mochen lan behema gasa, kach ein mochen lan chaya gasa. So an explicit brisa that just like you cannot sell a larger domesticated animal to the idol worshiper, so too you cannot sell a larger wild animal to the idol worshiper. The afilu b'makom shemochen lahen behema daka chaya gasa ein mochen lahen. And even in the locale that they sell, in the place that they sell a small domesticated animal, you are still prohibited from selling a larger wild animal. So you see explicitly in the Brisa, across the board, one may not sell a larger wild animal. Tiyufta, the Rav Chanan Barava, tiyufta. So that is a total rejection of Rav Chanan, who said it depends on the locale. We see a Brisa explicitly saying that any wild animals are not allowed to be sold across the board. So, okay, now Ravina, Rami Masnisen, a Brisa. Ravina has a Mishnah and a Brisa that contradict each other. Umishani. So it says the following. Tanan, and he answered. Tanan, ein mochrin lahen dubin v'arayis. It says in our Mishnah you can't sell bears and you can't sell lions. Below kol davar sheish bo nezek l'rabim, and nothing that's going to cause any damage to the public. Taima to ispe nezek. It's only because it causes damage. But halespe nezek mochrin. You could sell any animal you want, any big animal you want, any wild animal, as long as it doesn't do damage to the public. That's the Mishnah. V'reminhi, but the Brisa says, we just learned in this Brisa that you're not allowed, just like you can't sell a large domesticated animal, you also cannot sell a large wild animal. Even in a place where they do sell a small domesticated animal, a larger wild animal, you're not allowed to sell. On the one hand, the Mishnah sounds like you could sell it as long as it doesn't do damage to the public. That'll be permitted. But the Brisa explicitly said that it is prohibited. So which one is it? Umishani, the Ari Shavuot. The answer is we're talking about our Mishnah, which permits it, is talking about a lion which is broken. The Aliba de Rabbi Yehuda. And it's going like the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. That's why really you cannot sell large wild animal. Our Mishnah that implies that you could is talking about a lion that is injured. Or Rav Ashi Amar Stamari Shavaru Eitzam Malacha. Rav Ashi says that a general lion is broken, so to speak, in terms of the work that it does for you. So the rule of thumb is any large animal that could do work for you would be prohibited. And any large animal that doesn't usually do work for you, like a lion, is considered injured, so to speak, that is going to be permitted. Also, according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, that the broken animals could be sold. Maskif Rav Nachman man lemel on the arichaya gasa, he dil machaya dakihi. So Rav Nachman says, who told you that a lion was a large wild animal? Maybe it's considered a smaller wild animal, and therefore there's going to be no contradiction at all. I guess it doesn't matter the lion's size per se. It's either one of it.
Does not speak categorically of large non-domestic animals, but
right.
Non-domestic animals.
Right. So it's the whole assumption that the Mishnah is allowing larger wild animals is because we assumed that the lion is a larger wild animal. But if you can break that assumption like we're doing now and say maybe it's categorically a smaller wild animal, you have no implication from the Mishnah that it permits larger wild animals. And I guess you'll have to say that a bear is the same thing, because the Mishnah does not allow lions and bears. You have to say that a bear also is a smaller wild animal, not a larger one.
It depends on the size. Depends on a specific lion.
Right. I guess obviously if the bear or lion are very big, then that's a larger wild animal. But who says our Mishnah is talking about that case? Our Mishnah just says lions and bears. So yeah. So now, Rav Ashi Dayik Masnisen Umosiv Tiyufta. Rav Ashi had an implication from our Mishnah, and then he asked a difficulty. Let's see the implication. Tanan. Ein mochel dubim v'arayis below kol davar sheyesh bo nezek l'rabim. You can't sell lions and lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my! Yeah, you can't sell bears and lions, and you cannot sell anything which does damage to the public. time of the isbei nezek halas bei nezek mochrin, it's only because these things might cause damage to the public. But if they don't cause damage to the public, you can go ahead and sell it. The time ari, and the reason why a lion would be permitted is the stamari shavru etzem malacha. That a lion is considered broken in terms of the fact that it doesn't really carry your stuff for you, doesn't do good work for you, doesn't plow for you, nothing. Aval media the avid malacha lo. But clearly something else which would do malacha for you would be prohibited. So that seems like a tiyufta. The Rav Chanan bar Rava tiyufta. That's once again it's a rejection of Rav Chanan bar Rava, which did not allow any wild animals to be sold. Our Mishnah seems to apply that they could be sold. It just depends if they do work for you or they don't do work for you. That's all. Says so. B'chaya gasa mias ma'im elacha avda. So it says more like, what work does a wild animal, a large, wild, domesticated, a large wild animal do for you? We're saying a lion is a large wild animal which does not do work for you. But maybe other large wild animals that do work for you would be prohibited. Says Amar, so what's an example of that? Amar Rabbi, Amar Limar Yehuda, Debei Mar Yochani, Hachni Rechaim Ba'arude. In the house or the academy, Mar Yehuda said that the Beimar sounds like in the house of Master Yochanan by his mill when they were grinding. What did they use? A wild donkey to do that. They used a wild donkey to do that. So what do you see? That a larger wild animal could do malacha for you. It could go on your mill and help you with your mill. Do the pedals or whatever, so I guess also like an older horse can do the same thing. So larger wild animals could do work for you, even though I guess it's a little more rare to find. But if they could do work for you, then they would be prohibited.
See somebody putting a saddle on the Lord.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. So Amar of Zera, Rav Zera says, Kiavina be Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Lan, when I was at the house of Academy of Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Lan, so he said, I heard the following teaching, Amar Lan, Gemiri Minai, Hamil said, the Magav Rabbi Shmieli. Sounds like he told us, he told us or I told them? I think he told us.
I said to myself, right from this ruling I heard from Yehuda. I counted
Before that. Before that.
When later I came to Fortuna.
Before that.
But I do not know if I heard it from Rav.
Right before that. The line before that.
When we were at Rabbi Yehuda's academy, he told us.
Oh, he told us. Yeah, he told us. So when we were at Rabbi Yehuda's academy, he told us, "Gemiri minay hamil," to learn from me the following matter, because I heard this from a great person, from Rabbi Shmieli. I heard it from a very great man. Below Yadana, I just don't know. Was it from Rav or was it from Shmuel? Ime Rav, Ime Shmuel. I heard the following teaching, and I heard it from a great person. I'm not sure the great person is Rav or Shmuel, but you should listen to me. You should learn this from me. Chaya gasa harehi kibehei medaka lepirchus. A chaya gasa, a wild animal, a larger wild animal, harehi kibehei medaka lepirchus, is like a small domesticated animal when it comes to its spasms to know if it's kosher or not kosher. Okay, so that was the teaching that the Academy of Rabbi Yehuda taught them. Ki asai lekorkinaya. When I went to Korkinaya, it's another, I guess there's another academy over there, another yeshiva there. I encountered Rav Chia bar Ashi, the Yosevik Amar Mishmei de Shmuel, that he was sitting there and saying, in the name of Shmuel, this teaching, a larger wild animal is like a small domesticated animal when it comes to spasms for Hilchos Kashrus. So I said to myself, Amina, Shema Amina, it must be that Rabbi Yehuda, when he said that, the great person he was saying in the name of was really Shmuel. Because in the other academy, they said the same exact teaching, and they said it was in the name of Shmuel. So, Shema Amina Mishmei the Shmuel, Itmar. I can learn from this that it was really said in the name of Shmuel. Ki asai l'sura, when I went to Surah, Rabbi Bar Yirmiyah was sitting and saying over the same teaching in the name of Rab. Chaya Gasa, a large wild animal, is Harehi ki behema dakal pirchos, is like a small domesticated animal when it comes to its spasms, if it's kosher or it died. That was the name of Rab. So now what did I say? Amina. Shema Amina, Itmar Mishmei the Rab. I can learn from here that this is said in the name of Rab. The Itmar Mishmei the Shmuel. It was said by both of them. So this teaching was said by both Rav and Shmuel. So 3 academies. The first one, he didn't know if it was Rav or Shmuel. The second one, he heard it in the name of Shmuel. The third one, he heard it in the name of Rav. Now, he went up to Eretz Yisrael. He salikasly went up to Eretz Yisrael. I encountered Rav Asi, the Yosef Amar Rav Chama Bar Guria Mishmei the Rav. He said in the name of Rav. Rav Chama, in the name of Rav, said, a large, wild animal has the same status as a smaller domestic animal in terms of if it's sick and you shecht it, in terms of what kind of spasm it has to do to be rendered a kosher shlita. So Amri lay. So I guess when he said this in the name of Rav, Amri, they said to him, this, I guess the students said to him, Amri lay, Veloy Savar Lamar, Diman Mar the Shmaitza, Rabbi Bar Yirmiyah. Amri lay, Veloy Savar Lamar. I mean, they saw Rav Chama Bar Guria said in the name of Rab, and they said, "V'loy sarvalan mar deman mar d'shmaitza Rabbi Bar Yirmiyah." Did you not know that the master who taught this original teaching was Rabbi Bar Yirmiyah? Meaning, he's saying something that apparently it was said over by a great person. It was said over in the name of Rabbi Bar Yirmiyah, in the name of Rab. So it must be that you, Rav Chama Bar Guria, were saying this over. You must have heard it from Rabbi Bar Yirmiyah. So, meaning he comes out to Shul and he hears another Rebbe say this in the name of Rav, and he himself heard it from Rabbi Bar Yirmiyah in the name of Rav. So he told him this. Hey, this is what Rabbi Bar Yirmiyah said. So Amar Lei, so he responded to him. Pasi Uchma means a black vessel, which is it's a kind of compliment. It's an allegorically like you're so immersed in your learning that your clothing's all black. You never leave your learning, to wash it all. It's allegorically speaking that the Talmidei Chachamim, they trouble themselves so much to understand Hashem's Torah. It's like a black vessel. It's just so used and so dark and not washed. It's just it's been used so much. So it's allegorically complimenting him that you're really a great person. So much so that this time Shmaitza. From me and from you, the teachings will spread. So we're gonna spread the Torah. So okay. It's Barnami, Amar Rabbi Zera, Amar Rav Asi, Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah, Amar Rav Chama Bar Guria, Amar Rav. So Rabbi Zera in the name of Rav Asi, in the name of Rabbi Bar Yirmiyah, in the name of Rav Chama Bar Guria, in the name of Rav. A large wild animal is like a small domesticated animal when it comes to its spasms. Okay.
How often do you check the bear?
Right, but what about like a cow?
Yeah,
I assume that's like a sheep and a goat is going to be a smaller animal.
Talking about something that could be edible.
Right. So I'm assuming a big cow, a big bull, things like that might be right. So I mean,
yeah. Right.
In Europe, I mean, so long ago, they wouldn't give a person rabbinic ordination if he didn't know the laws of shechita, slaughtering, because that was like one of the most important things you have to know. There's a kosher supermarket, right. Your local butcher shechted, and you have to know if it's kosher or not. Those are so much of the questions. So nowadays someone's taking that off, but it's less practical nowadays. But still, shechita and kosher, I mean, it's a amount of money lost. Mm-hmm. If people have no money, you buy an animal, that's so much of your livelihood. Yeah, if it's not kosher, then you're
Right.
Okay. So you couldn't build these three things. You couldn't build this silky gardum and itzdia. I forgot the fancy word that we used yesterday.
So,
A basilica. What's a basilica? It's like a porch.
Port and a stadium and a platform. Basilica, I guess, is something big.
Yeah. Okay. Some kind of larger, high up structure. So Amar of Yochanan, Shlosha basilikos hain. There are three of these basilicas. Shel Malche Ovdei Kochavim, the ones of the kings of the idol worshippers, Vishel Merchatzos, and the ones of bathhouses, Vishel Otros, and ones of all the kings' jewels. So they would build buildings for the kings, treasures, and for the bathhouse. So Amarava Shteim Laheter Ve'echad Le'Isra. Two of them are permitted. The bathhouse and the treasures are permitted, but the ones for the kings are prohibited because that's what they were to kill people. That's what they would try people and throw them off and kill them. So how are you going to remember which is which? If a simon, a way to remember this is from Tehillim. I think we say this in Hallel. Lasor Malcheim Bezikim. So Lasor we're saying now is to prohibit Malcheim, the ones of the kings. So the one that is prohibited is the one that's one of the kings. That's the one that's prohibited because that's where they try people and then throw them off the cliff. So you cannot assist in that. So now v'ika da amri amar Rava kulam laheter. So some say that Rava said no, they're all permitted. I v'hatnan ein bonim on the silky gardam and itzdiya ubima. It says good. You can't build the basilicas. So how can the basilicas are permitted? The basilicas are prohibited. Ema, what it means is shel gardam vishal itzdiya vishal bima. It just means that according to this opinion, when you read the Mishnah, the basilicas it's not its own thing. It's just the basilica of the Gardum, Itzdeya, and Bima, which were what again? These three things were the Gardum,
stadium, and the tiered platform.
Right, the stadium, tiered platform, and a small little structure. So the basilicas of those three things you can't build. But just to build a basilica, a larger structure, that according to this would be permitted. Yeah. So now it's a little bit story time. So that's been the theme the last 16 days.
You're allowed to build.
It's not according to this opinion to build a basilica for the king. You're allowed. For the kings, you're allowed. But to build it for this area, which they for sure throw people off of, that's going to be prohibited. Yeah. Okay. Taner Rabban. Kishenitfas Rabbi Eliezer leminus. Rabbi Eliezer was captured for minus, for heresy, probably meaning that his teaching of Torah was considered heresy by the government. So they took him, they captured him. Or that's one. Or Rashi says really it's the heretics that captured him. And they wanted to subject him to Avodah Zora. So Rashi learns what it means is they captured Rabbi Eliezer and they wanted to subject him to idol worship. So Ha'elu garden, they brought him to this garden, this area, this high structure where they try people and then throw them off. Lidon. Amr Lo, also Hegmon, so that non-Jewish general, so he said, Zaken Shekamoscha, Yasok B'dvarim B'telim Halalu. It's a real chutzpah. Yeah, the guy told him, an old man like you're being involved in these idol matters, meaning the teaching of Torah. So now Rabbi Eliezer is about to speak to Hashem, but the general is going to think he's speaking to him. So Amr Lo, Rabbi Eliezer says to Hashem, Naman Alai Hadayan. So the judge is trusted. Meaning, obviously, I'm being taken because I committed some avera, and they're going to try me and kill me. And he's saying that Hashem, you're the ultimate judge, and I know that I deserve it. So the word says, you judge are trustworthy. No complaining. If I must have did something wrong, and therefore I'm being tried and killed. Now the judge thought he was talking about him, Mr. Non-Jewish judge over here. So Kesaver Osu Hagmon, Allahu Omer, that's talking about him. V'hulu Omar Elakang Abiv Shmashamayim. But he was only talking about to his father in heaven. So Omer Lo. So now the judge said, so now that you trust me, so Dimus Potter, you get out free. You have a get out of jail free card. They changed the Demas as an idol?
Demas 39.
Shouldn't be an idol.
Name of this idol. Mercy.
Since you it means mercy, right. Usually Demas is like this mercy, this pardon. That's the word, the pardon. Pater. So Pater Ata. Okay. Now Rabbi Eliezer came home. The Shabbat Beso Nicholas Talmidav. That's the they came to console him because he was captured by this. He brought up, he was almost killed. Below Kiba and he didn't accept consolation. Now, Rabbi Kiva, who happened to be his greatest student, when Rabbi Eliezer was put into excommunication for a dispute he had with the rabbis, they sent in Rabbi Akiva to tell him that he was put in excommunication. So Amarlo Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Tarshini Lomar Davar Echad Mimashadam Tani. So I think it means I'm going to try to say something to you. What's Tarshini? I'm not sure. Tarshini Lomar Davar.
My teacher, permit me to say.
Yeah, permit me. Tarshini to Marsha. So permit me to say something to you from what you taught us. So Amar Lo Amar. Okay, go for it. So he told him, Amar Lo Rebbe, Shema Minus Baliadcha. Maybe this whole thing happened to you, that some kind of heresy came to your hand. And maybe you got benefit from it. Maybe heresy came to your hand. The hanacha, maybe it was found like good in your eyes. The Allah nitasta, and for that reason, you were taken. Interesting. So Amar Lo, Rabbi Eliezer told Rabbi Akiva, Amar Lo, Akiva his kartani, you reminded me that Pamak Asisi Mahalik Bashuk, one time Bashuk Elyon, I was going in the upper marketplace, Shel Tzipori of Tzipori. Umatasi Echad, I found there's a man that I encountered, the Yaakov Ish Kvar Sakanya, his name was Yaakov Ish Sakanya, and he was a heretic. And Amar Li, he told me, it says in your Torah, Kasabasaraschem, Lo Savi Eslim Zona, that you're not allowed to get. They used to pay the prostitutes different things. If they got paid in animals, biblically you are prohibited from bringing that animal up to the Beis Hamikdash. If you bought that animal from her, however you got a hold of it, since it was used for payment, you cannot bring that up as an offering. He asked him though. Now, rabbinically, we have the following question: Let's say they paid the harlot with some construction material. Can you take now that construction material, buy it off of her, and build a toilet seat for the Kohen Gadol? Yeah. So below Marti Lokum, and Rabbi Eliezer decided not to respond to him. So Amar Li, so he told me his own answer that Kachlam, this is how I learned. Ki me'esnan zona kivtza vad esnan zoni yashuvu. The F from the esnan, from the payment of the zona will be collected, and it will be returned. Meaning, mimakum hatinofes bo'u, lemakum hatinofes yelchu. From meaning the payment, it comes from a dirty place, and it will return to a dirty place. Meaning, you cannot use that payment for something that's clean, so to speak, to build for a Kohen Gadol. So he had his own reasoning of why it should be prohibited. And Rabbi Eliezer says that v'hanani hadavar, and I enjoyed this. It was a good teaching. So I did it passed in the minus. Maybe for that reason, they captured me and subjugated me to want to worship idols. And I was violated the prohibition of the Varti al Mashi Kasa B'Torah, Herchak Me'aleha Darkecha Zuminus. You should distance yourself from this way. What's that? You should remain distant from idol worship, from heresy. Val Tikrov El Pesach Besa Zuarishos, and don't come near the authorities because they're going to want to kill you and take your money. So stay away from heresy and stay away from authority. The army, some say, distance yourself from its way means heresy and authority. Tikrav el Pesach Besa Zuzona. And to stay away from the house, from the edge of the house, is referring to a harlot, to a prostitute. How much should you distance? Become Amar of Chista. How much should you distance yourself? Arba Amos. 4 Amos. I've looked it up, but it could be this is the to distance oneself from a church when you walk by. It's not between Arba Amos. I have to double check, but it could be that this is the source for that. The Rabbanon and the rabbis. Okay, so Hayi Maslin Zon and Mai Darshibe. How do they interpret the verse? How do they interpret this verse? Mai Darshibe, Kid Rav Chista. They interpret the verse like Rav Chista. Meaning this whole interpretation came from this heretic. But if you don't accept this heretic's interpretation, so how do you interpret this verse? Mai Darshive. Kid Rav Chista, Amar Rav Chista. Kol Zona. Any prostitution is skeres. Libasov he socheres. Anyone who's gonna rent herself out will end up having to rent others. I mean, it sounds like she'll be in tremendous need of things, and she'll have to hire others to do things for her. So Kolzan Hashem is scared that rented out. Libasov he socheres. She'll have to rent others out. Shenamar, it says ubebitcha esnan lotitin lach, but the hilahepech. Sounds like it's going to be the opposite for her. So if she rents herself out, she'll need to rent others. I guess that's a sign of poverty. She'll always be in need, and she'll be in tremendous need. Have to rent everything else out. She won't be self-sufficient. The Rashi says she'll be totally disgraced. Yeah, she'll be disgraced in everyone's eyes. Yeah. Upliga the Rabbi Padas, and this argues on Rabbi Padas's teaching. I'm Rabbi Padas. Lo asra Torah ella kreva shel gilu rayas bilvad. Rabbi Padas says these 4 amos of distancing yourself is only from illicit relations. Shenamar ish al kol she'er b'saro lo sigur v'legalos erva. A person has to distance himself arba amos from coming close to illicit relations. Here's a little bit. Either the following line is allegorical, or it's an exception if you're a very great holy person, which is not us. So Ula kihavi asimi be Rav. Ula came from the house of Rav. Have a menashek Ula achte. Abi adayu v'amrila abi chadayu. So Ula, when he came home, so apparently he had tremendous honor for his older sisters. Maybe they helped raise him, so he accorded honor that he either kissed their hand or he would kiss their chest. Now, I don't think it means literally like that. So I think the footnotes point out different interpretations. Either it's allegorical, it's referring to learning Torah, or it's the parts of their sleeves that are there. But it was he would accord honor to them. It was a way of showing honor to his sister. Now, what Ula did seems to be a contradiction to what Ula said. Upliga didei adidei. This argues on what he said. The Amar Ula kreva ba'alma aser mishu leich amrina nazira skor the camera lo sikra. He said in general, coming close is prohibited. You can't even come close. So meaning the violation biblically simply understood as having relations with siblings. The distancing yourself in this case, it seems to be the kissing of siblings. Ula himself, when it came to a nazir really can go into a vineyard. But Ula is going to say he shouldn't even come close to the vineyard, because coming close to the vineyard is going to lead to eating from it or drinking from the vineyard, and that's prohibited. So Ula himself maintained that you should distance yourself, and yet we see he didn't do that. So now, what the explanation of Ula is I guess we have to understand what exactly was his rationale. But every so often you have sometimes that they trusted their thoughts so much that they knew these things weren't going to cause bad thoughts. So maybe that was the explanation. Okay. Tomorrow we're going to get to the famous story of Rabbi Dovid ben Gleizer. Very, very famous.
So close enough brings to mind the